Hi, I'm Eli, and I make games. So, for this episode of Feedback Friday number 23, I am covering a game that was suggested me by Tuba Guy. It's his game. He's working on Mystery of Palm Tree Island. So, what the game is it's like a Metroidvania. Well, it is a Metroidvania, but I will say it's clearly in some form of a beta stage. This game is not perfect. This game is not great. But I do think it has things that it does go well on that can be noted. And I've got a lot of suggestions and things that could be improved to make the game go from a fine game to a great game. So I'm going to start out with my faults and my suggestions. First of all, and most importantly, better platformer controls. The controls are actually pretty good. Right now, I'd suggest adding arrow key support, definitely. But most importantly, I'd say add things like coyote time, which allows you to jump after a couple milliseconds after you fall off the platform. That makes it feel like you didn't miss an input. Adding a variable jump so that there's a maximum jump height, but if you you leave the key earlier, then you won't go as high as if you hold it down. If you're playing Mario, you'll go up higher the longer you hold it, and you'll just go down when you don't. So, variable jump would definitely help. And there's a bunch of other things I could say make better platform controls and stuff. I personally like momentum-based systems, but I think the game's not momentum-based system works well. But those are like platformer controls. Another thing that would help it is more juice and visual feedback. When you jump, I want to see particles that signify that you jump. When you land, I want to see dust particles that come up to make it look like you landed. When you fall in a spike, I want to see some sort of, maybe not blood effect per se. Depends on how violent you want the game to be, and this doesn't seem like one of those. But just some sort of hurting effect. Maybe just cover the character red, or maybe add an outline of red to the screen when you're getting hurt, or things like that just make the game feel better. Obviously, more sound effects and stuff would help with that, but I was just talking visually there. Another thing, and this is a very big thing, and I do not mean to offend you, but the boss is bad. There's, first of all, and most importantly, there's no health bar. If you showed the health bar, I think this fight would feel way better. I could not beat it, and I had no encouragement to beat it, simply because I could not see how far I was in the fight. Another thing that could help improve the boss is, the sword attack isn't really that great. It doesn't have a good enough range, and it doesn't give any knockback. If you added both of those things to make the sword attack better, not only would that make the boss way better, but it would also make it so that general combat just feels better. Because when you hit something, the enemy doesn't care. It just keeps going. There's no visual feedback, like I said, adding more juice and polish to it. That would help the sword attack feel better, giving a bigger range to it. Adding a separate trigger or hitbox that makes it so that, yes, you can tell it's doing something. That, would make not only the boss better, make the combat better. The sword attack, I'm sorry to say this, but it's very flawed. Put those improvements, please. Put those things in, and that will make it so that your game is feeling better. This game, with its problems, a lot of them is feel. The game feel just doesn't feel right. There's no juice, no polish that really signifies anything happening. The sword attack feels worthless. It doesn't even feel like I'm damaging enemies half the time. I know I do, because when they die, I did that. but there's nothing to really signify it. And then the boss, I couldn't even beat it simply because of the fact that I felt no motivation to do it, and even so, it felt impossible not even having the signification of how far I was in the fight. Now, I do have one more thing, but this is simply a bug. There was this weird music bug that made the music sound horrible. It's fine for like the first 5 seconds, but then it's like gets real jittery and ooh. So I don't know if that's intentional or not, but please fix that. I had to turn off the sound because I was getting a migraine from it. I couldn't even listen to the sound effects. Probably would have, like, for the little bit of time that I did, they're fine, but they probably would have helped with my like juice claims a little better to feel better, because you can't even hear them over this weird music bug. So fix that. I also suggest better music. It's a really short loop, honestly, so having a longer loop with more variation would just make it feel better. And those are the faults in the suggestions. I know that got kind of heated, but the game, it needs it. It's very clearly in an alpha beta type stage where it's not anywhere near a final product. And I think those things need to be addressed before it should be considered a final product. So, I'm going to move on to the mandatory fun fact of the day. Hopefully this is a little more upbeat. So, I'm talking about carbon, but better? I don't know. Carbon's weird. You can go from the hardest rock to something we use in everyday fuel to your very body with a single element, carbon. Yay. Carbon's actually the only element that we know of that's actually complex enough to support life. All your cells have some form of carbon. That's why we refer to things human impact, animal impact, nature's impact as a carbon footprint. Simply because of the fact that we use carbon like that. We also call it carbon footprint simply because of the fact that the coal that we use, that's carbon. The charcoal that we use, that's carbon. Lots of the fuels we use are carbon-based, so that obviously plays a part. Another thing of carbon that we use are diamonds. Woo! These gemstones that form over very long periods of time are the hardest rock that we know of. The carbon structure is so complex that when it creates this gem under high pressure, typically within the mantle layer, you will get this very hard material. It does actually, it can put off much energy like coals because they are made of the exact same thing, they just have a different structure. And yeah, that's a fun fact of the day. It's a little crazy. But yeah, crazy episode. Woo. Let's continue on with the praises. Sure, this game's not great, but it does some things pretty nice. First of all, I'd like to address the art looks pretty snazzy. I like it. It does look a little bland without any like post-processing effects, any particles. Add those in, it'll probably look way better. But the art itself is actually pretty good. It stays true to pixel art, I feel. I like the style of the game, and everything fits well together. I don't know, this game does look like an asset pack, I think, but from what I've told, he made this art because it doesn't mention anything about an asset pack, and the one I'm thinking of has completely different art in it. So yeah, nice art. Woo. Another thing I'd like to say is when I could hear the sound effects, they're pretty decent. Of course, I did have to turn off my volume because the music was giving me a migraine. But the sound effects themselves weren't that bad. Add more of them, way better. Just that juice, that polish, sound effects do that. Another thing I'd like to say for praises is it's a pretty good base for a Metroidvania. It has everything you need to get the basics of a Metroidvania running. And I think once you have done the things that I have suggested within the fault section, I think this base will be even a better base, and then you can kind of expand from there. But it has the basic things you need: enemies, progressive upgrades. I could totally see the moveset of this game with expanding a lot to introduce puzzles and platforming mechanics. So it's a good base for Metroidvania. You get my approval on that. The boss still sucks though, so yeah. But yeah, that was this episode of Feedback Friday. Woo! This one was a little crazier than I would like it to have been, but I feel that this game, though it is flawed, it does have what could be a good game in the end. So I just hope that you take this feedback into consideration, because I think you've got something here, but you do not have enough of that something, and you need more of that. You need to fix up the problems of this current version of the game, and then you can expand from there. I suggest getting more feedback on the game. I did this obviously because you told me to, but send this out to more people, see what they say. Also, I know you have a YouTube channel. I don't know if you're posting videos on the game, but do that. That's an easy way to get feedback, grow an audience, so that this game can become bigger. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. I would like to say thank you for submitting something for once that's actually your own game, because every other submission I have gotten has not been their own game, and the one time it was not a public release, in which I said I couldn't do it because I want everyone to be able to play these games and be able to support more feedback further. I'm trying to help expand what people can do, and the more feedback and stuff that you get, the better. But overall, nice game, good job, woohoo. But yeah, make sure check out all the Feedback Friday games. They are in a itch.io collection. The link is in the description. It's also on my itch page where you can find my games. You can also find my asset packs there that are up for sale. And yeah, so if you did enjoy this video and you did like it, make sure to like. And if you don't like this video, why in the world do you watch through a video that you despise? So you clearly liked it. So yeah, like it and subscribe. Peace.